So let's go back to HTTP org. And in here, let's go to authorization. So this set over here is just a set of simple APIs that basically mimic some behavior that usually we see when we try to do a certain API call for authorization. And the one that is pretty common is this /bearer. So let's just try to replicate this kind of API call. So what does this call do? This call basically allows you to simulate authorization. And this is similar to all kinds of API calls that will be used when we are trying to work with the website that requires users to log in and provide some sort of information in order to confirm their identity, right? So this will be used on all kinds of websites and all kinds of functionality that actually requires logging in and getting some access before you can have ability to work with the website or the mobile app itself. So let's just simulate this call. And in order to do that, again, we need to go back to Postman. We are going to do, I'm just going to start a new tab. We are going to do get on http://bin.org. Again, this is our base URL. And then the endpoint here is /bearer. So that's the endpoint. So let's go back here, enter this. And now if I just hit enter, you can see that this endpoint will return me status code 401 and it will tell me unauthorized. So basically the status code means that I'm trying to access some sort of resource, but I'm unauthorized. I can't do it because I didn't provide some sort of credentials or some sort of confirmation that I have rights and permissions to access this resource. So this is something that we very common see when we work with all kinds of in-app functionality. Now, if we read through this documentation, this endpoint actually tells us that upon unsuccessful authentication, we actually get 401, and that's exactly what I got. But if we authorize successfully, we're going to see code 200. So in order for authorization to work, we actually need to provide a header. So let's go to Postman, go to headers. And that has to be an authorization header. So over here, I'm just going to start typing authorization. And Postman recommends some of the default headers. So authorization is the one that we will be using. And in here, we need to provide some sort of token that allows users to get access to the information. Usually we get this token upon login. So when users log in for the first time, they receive that token. And then for all kinds of in-app activity, this token is just being passed throughout the whole website or the whole mobile app. And now with all the API calls that are made in-app, we just keep on having this header. So in our case, we can just come up with a token ourselves. Just call it bearer. And we can just provide some random information. And then we can send an API call. So when I provide authorization token, you can see that I get back 200, and this API also returns me the token value. Obviously, this value of the token, when you work with the real websites, you will be getting from your server. So when you log in as a user, you will be getting this token. Again, this is just testing website, so that's why I can just come up with something random and it will work. But this is something that we see when we test all kinds of APIs that are available only for logged in users, only inside the app. So for example, all kinds of functionality that is related to, let's say, your banking information or your health information, all of that is usually secured. And in order to get access to that information, you first need to log in, get this token, and then only after that, the website or mobile app will be able to make additional API calls, and they will be returning the correct information as long as this header is provided. If that header is no longer provided for any reason, the API will always be returning some error, and the information will not be displayed. So this is how you can make authorization. All right. Now let's continue, and let's play with one more API that allows us to see different time of responses. So if we go to http://bin.org and scroll down, it actually has all kinds of information. So I do encourage you to play with it yourself, but it has the ability to make API call and actually return the data with basically slower speed. And in order to do that, you basically make an API call get to http://bin.org/delay. And then you just need to provide the amount of seconds that you want to see in your response. So basically the amount of the seconds that the server should wait before the response is done. So if we make this call, let's send it to 2, for example, and hit send, we can probably get rid of authorization. You will notice that it actually takes time to get back a response, right? And over here under time, I can see that it actually took over 2 seconds to get back this response. So obviously, this API takes longer, and every time you are modifying this amount of seconds, it will be showing you like longer and longer response. So in real life, we usually don't see APIs like this, right? Nobody intentionally implements an API that will take forever to respond. But this is just a good demo and good example of an API that actually takes some time. So when we see that it takes over 200 milliseconds to get back a response, that is usually not very good. If I just make an API call to http://bin.org/get, you will see that time of the response is very quick. It's 100 milliseconds. That's it. That's very good. And the recommended time of the API call is below 200 milliseconds. Now, if API response time is longer than that, and especially if it's longer than 1 second, we will actually need to wait before we get data back. And then under the time over here in Postman, you will be able to find this information. This is important. When you are testing APIs in Postman, always take a look at the time. And if you are noticing that the time is long and the time of the response is over a second, it usually makes sense to raise that issue to your developers so they can look into it. Users don't like to wait until websites and mobile apps are loading, and long time of API response is very, very bad for just user experience overall. So that's where you can see. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you is that you can also, using http://bin.org, simulate a call that will return you UUID. So now, in order to do this, let me just make another tab, actually. We can create a new tab in Postman. We're also going to be using get. So I'm just going to copy this endpoint for now. And then I'm just going to modify it so it just matches whatever I have over here. And then I'm just going to hit enter. So when I make this API call, this will just return me unique user ID, and that's just the string that was generated by the server and something we got back. So this kind of unique IDs are very common, and when you will be working with all kinds of APIs, you will notice this format of IDs very often. This is very commonly used, and unique IDs that are generated like that usually are used for all kinds of things on the web apps or on the mobile apps. So you usually see them for users, for all kinds of objects like products, for example, in the card, purchases themselves, and so on.